Yo, having a hard time looking for your target audience? Let me try to help you out. What's happening, everybody? Boy Big Brando, and today we're going to be talking all about target audiences, your customer base, finding your audience, and marketing to the right people. Now, anytime that I make a marketing video and I talk about my social media strategy on how I market my products for free, majority of the people that watch that video, they understand the concept. The part that they don't understand is finding their target audience. And this might be you. You might fall into this same boat, or this might open your eyes to another way of looking at your target audience. But before I start anything, this is just what works for me. This is my strategy on how I acquire my customers, how I find my target audience, how I sell my products. This is what works for myself. Is this the only way to do things? No, it's not. Can this information be useful to you in your business? Possibly. The only reason I'm sharing this information is because I feel like a lot of people struggle with knowing who they want to sell to. So I'm hoping I could help out a little bit. So whenever I'm starting a brand or a business, before I start any of that, before I get into production, before I even think of a name for the business, the very first thing that I'm thinking about is how the hell am I going to sell something to somebody? And that somebody is who. I need to know exactly who I'm going to sell to. I need to know who exactly am I going to sell my services to, my products to, before the business even starts. First thing I'm thinking about is who I'm going to be selling to. Now, a lot of times people think, all right, I want to sell to everybody, so let me start the business and start selling to everybody. To me, that's ass backwards. That's not doing yourself any justice. That's not helping your business any. I get it that you're excited to start your business, but sometimes it's all in the planning and structuring of your business that's going to help you be prepared and be profitable. So what ends up happening is people watch people like me on YouTube and they're like, oh man, that guy has that equipment. He's using those transfers. He's using those blank t-shirts. All right, I'm going to buy everything and start my business. But instead, every time somebody asks me on my business advice, I always tell people, know who you're going to sell to, know what you're selling and who you're going to sell it to. That right there can be done for free. You don't have to buy equipment for that. You don't have to buy t-shirts for that. You don't have to buy anything to do your research. Now on the back end, nobody likes doing the research. That part isn't fun. That's not the fun part of the business. But the reason why it's so needed is because once you get your equipment, your t-shirts, your transfers, you know how to use everything and you want to start selling stuff, who the hell are you going to sell it to? Now you have this brand new heat press and these brand new transfers and these brand new t-shirts, but you have nobody to sell it to because you didn't do this part of the business. You didn't do the research on who you're going to sell to. And that's why a lot of people get caught up in just trying to sell their brand names and their logo t-shirts. And that's because that is the exciting part of the business. Oh, I want people to wear my brand name. I want people to wear my logo. And I get it, and that's cool. But in reality, nobody knows your brand name. Nobody knows what your logo means. Nobody cares about your logo. And the reason I say that is because you don't understand who you're selling to. So before you buy anything, before you invest in any equipment, invest the time in learning who you want to sell to. Now, that sounds way easier than it really is. It's like, oh yeah, I want to sell to these people. When I say learn and do your research on the people you want to sell your stuff to, I'm talking about living in that space. I'm talking about going to where those people go. I'm talking about understanding what they're into, what they're not into. I'm talking about understanding their terminology, their lingo. I'm talking about really investing your time in doing the research, in knowing your target audience. Now, why is this important? Knowing who you're going to sell to makes the design process that much easier, because now once you have a target audience that you want to actually sell to, when it comes down to sitting down and thinking of concepts, thinking of ideas, and thinking of designs, you're designing directly towards that target audience. You're designing for that specific person that you're thinking about, that you were doing research on. You know what makes them tick. You know what they're into, what they're not into. You know the ins and outs of this certain person that you want to sell to. Now, for example, let's say I own a rim shop and I sell rims for cars. And let's say the target audience for the rims that I sell are spoked wheels, like let's say Dayton's. Let's say I got a shop that just sells Dayton's. Obviously, these wheels are gonna go on to lowriders. In order for me to be the new rim shop on the street selling Dayton's to lowriders, I need to live in that lowrider space. I need to understand what lowriders are. I need to understand that 13s look better than 14s. I need to understand what white walls look good wrapped in these Daytons. I need to understand what knockoffs people want. I need to understand everything about my target audience before I start selling wheels. Now, the reason I say that is because there's a ton of rim shops around here, right? But those rims go on different cars. If I'm selling a specific rim to a specific group of people, I have no business marketing my Daytons to the guys that ride the JDM style, race style Japanese cars. If I'm selling Daytons, I have no business selling those Daytons to people that drive 4x4 trucks. That's not my target audience. But now if I go back to the lowrider guys, I need to understand that there's guys that drive G bodies. There's guys that drive Cadillacs only. There's guys that drive old Impalas. These are all different subcategories within the lowrider space. So I need to understand, all right, the guys that drive G bodies, they only wrap their Daytons in 520s. Or if somebody drives a bomb, do they really want Daytons, or are they looking for original Chevy wheels? Then I know that my Daytons aren't gonna appeal to them. I need to know everything about them. I need to know where the cruises are going down every week. I need to know the popular clubs in the area. I need to know what clubs are throwing what picnics, because I need to be in that space. So before I even buy the rims or buy the rim shop or do any of that stuff, I need to put myself into that world. Because if I can't add value to that world will not accept me. And the reason I say that is because the more that you add value to a certain group of people, the more likely that group of people will trust whatever you're selling and support your business. Now, if you're just a brand new business out of nowhere and you just try to come on the scene and you're like, man, I got the wheels, I got this, blah, blah, blah. There might be a few people that take a chance and shop with you, but there's also gonna be a lot of people like, man, I don't know if his rims are legit. I don't know if this person's legit. It's hard to trust somebody in their business if you don't add value to that. So for myself, anytime I start a business or a brand and I'm trying to sell something to somebody, I like to put myself into that world and add value before I sell anything. And the reason why is because I want the people to trust me before they shop with me. All of this is to make the sell easier on myself. Knowing who I want to sell to makes my marketing strategy easier on myself because I know exactly who I'm designing something for and who I want to sell it to. Living within that world and adding value to that world only builds the trust with my target audience before I sell anything. So if I'm starting the rim shop, I'm going to be going to all the car shows. I'm going to be going to the car meets. I'm going to the local cruises. I'm going to be on social media within this space. I'm going to make myself familiar with the people that I want to sell to. Whether it's asking questions about their cars, talking about their cars, going to these shows, taking pictures of their cars and posting their cars. I'm gonna be doing everything I can to build a name for myself and add value to this. So whenever somebody's asking questions and comments, hey man, where's this cruise at, or where's this from? I'm gonna be the one to tell them like, oh man, this is on Crenshaw, or this is going down at Peck Park, or they're gonna be on Broadway this day. I'm gonna try to add as much value as possible, because by the time that I release the rim shop and I say, hey man, I opened up this rim shop, blah, 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 there's gonna be so many people that are already familiar with my name in the comments because I helped them do something. That's what I'm talking about when I say add value. If you're running a streetwear brand that's targeted to sneakerheads, same exact thing. When people wanna know when certain shoes are coming out, you could be in the comments talking to them about the shoes. You could be in the comments talking to them about the new releases, or why you don't like something, or why you like something, or why do you only like OG colorway Jordans and you don't really like the new stuff. Or you could be talking about why you only wear Air Max 1s and 95s and not any of the new stuff. There's so many different ways that you could do that and add value and say, hey, these are dropping here, these are releasing this time. You could go to the sneaker shows and make yourself relevant there. You could do a lot of it online, which is free, and be within that community and add value to the community before you release anything. So when I was selling stuff for Disneyland, same exact thing. I needed to go to Disneyland. I needed to know what made these people tick. I needed to understand what they're into and what they're not into. That way it makes the sell easier on myself. There's a million different Etsy shops and t-shirt creators that start selling Disney related stuff that end up flopping. And the reason they flop is because they go in thinking they want to sell everything, they got the best products out, blah, blah, blah. What they don't realize is the Disney community, even though it is big, it is very tight. And the Disney community is all about helping each other. So whether you're talking about new food that's in Disneyland, rides that are closed down in Disneyland, whether it's wait times at Disneyland, whether it's these are the best bathrooms to take a dump in at Disneyland, you're adding value to the world that you want to live in. That's the people that you want to sell to. So add value to wherever you're at. So if we had to recap a little bit, it's knowing who you want to sell to before you start selling anything. Knowing who you want to sell to is going to help the design process. Now you're designing something directly to these individuals that you want to sell to. This is how you're going to base your business. Doing your research on the people you want to sell to, living in the spaces that they live in, understanding what makes them tick, understanding what they like and what they don't like only benefits you as the business owner, and adding value to the space you want to sell in. This one is crucial because it builds the trust with the community you want to be a part of. All of these ingredients right here are to help you make the sale easier on yourself. I know a lot of this doesn't even sound fun. A lot of this might come off very boring in the grand scheme of running a business, but it's all necessary for your business to be profitable. Now, don't get me wrong, there are the rare occasions that people come out with a brand and they don't do any of these steps and they're very successful. But like I said, that is a rare occasion that happens. If you want to gamble on yourself and hope that you're the rare occasion, cool with me. But for myself, I like to get to the profit way quicker. So I'd rather do the research early, dive deep into the space that I want to sell in, and make a name for myself in that space. And I'm not even talking about building up a following. I'm just talking about becoming a part of the community. You're not looking for followers here. You're just looking to help. You want to add value before you start selling anything, because there's nothing worse than somebody that's a complete stranger to the community that you want to sell in, and you're just like, yeah, man, come and buy my shirts, blah, blah, blah. Here's some new shirts, blah, blah, blah. People are going to be like, man, who the hell is this guy? He don't know what we do. He don't understand the life we live. He knows nothing about this community. All you're doing is trying to establish yourself within this community, and the easiest way to establish yourself is to add value to that community. Like I said, it works for the Disneyland people. It works for if you wanted to run a rim shop. If you're somebody that makes quilts and blankets, it works for that. Understanding who you want to sell your blankets to. Now, finding out who your target audience is, that's something that I love doing. To me, that's a fun part of the business because I'm getting a chance to get a complete stranger to buy into a handmade design that I made with my bare hands, and they're going to spend their hard-earned money on that t-shirt and wear it proudly. That, to me, is the ultimate goal. That's the win of a lifetime for myself. Like when I was selling Disneyland-related stuff, I'm not the biggest Disneyland fan. I would go to Disneyland with my family to have a good time, drink some beers, and eat some good food, but I'm not a die-hard Disney person, and I understand that's a big community. So you don't even have to really live within this space. You don't really have to be all about that space. You just have to have a good understanding on how that space works. I understand that there's money to be made around the Disneyland lovers. I understand that there's millions of Disneyland themed shirt creators out there. So for myself, I just need to understand what my place in that world is. And the easiest way I found to get people to like you and trust you and shop with you is to add value instead of asking people to buy from you. When you add value, people tend to trust you faster than just coming out of nowhere and saying, hey man, come and buy my shirts or look at these new shirts. But like I said, none of this is the law. This is just what works for myself. If you are struggling with finding your target audience, really think about who you want to sell to. Once you find out who you want to sell to, add value to that group. Do your research on that group. That way, all of the hard work is done by the time you get your equipment and your blank t-shirts, and you can buy blank t-shirts based on the target audience because now you know what they're into. You can see what they're wearing. You can see what their favorite colors are and what makes them go. So that way, you're not doing a lot of guessing. All of the research and everything that you're doing, that data collected is basically the cheat code for you to be successful in whatever you're doing. So remember, before asking for anything, add value to that situation, all right? If you got any questions about anything I talked about here, please leave it in the comments for me. Follow me on Instagram if you wanted to, Big Brando TV. Catch you guys on the next one, man. Yeah.